In the summer of 1518, a city in Europe watched something impossible unfold. People started dancing in the streets and couldn't stop. Not for minutes, for hours, then days. Soon, it wasn't one person but a crowd, moving until collapse. The event became known as the Dance Plague of 1518, and the most unsettling part is this: it wasn't a festival. It looked like compulsion. This happened in Strasbourg, a busy city in the Holy Roman Empire, in the early modern period, when famine, disease, and fear were common parts of life. Records describe a sudden outbreak of uncontrolled dancing that drew attention from officials and physicians. The city wasn't dealing with a rumor, it was dealing with bodies in public spaces, exhausted and shaking, unable to quit. Accounts often begin with a single woman, described as starting to dance in the street without music, without celebration. At first, people thought it was a strange personal episode, but she kept going, day after day, and the spectacle attracted witnesses. And then something worse happened. Others began to join. Within a short time, the dance spread, more and more people, moving for long stretches, collapsing, then returning. This wasn't a coordinated ritual. It looked chaotic, desperate, and involuntary. The city saw something that felt infectious, but not in a way anyone understood. Officials didn't treat it like a crime. They treated it like a crisis. When the dancing didn't stop, authorities tried to manage it, sometimes by moving dancers to safer areas, clearing space, or involving medical advice. The key detail is how baffled everyone was. Even the decision-makers acted like they were guessing. One of the most infamous responses described in later retellings is that the city effectively encouraged controlled dancing, providing musicians or a place to dance it out, believing the body needed to release the condition. Whether every detail is perfectly recorded or partly dramatized, the logic shows the mindset. If stopping didn't work, maybe completion would. But the more you feed a fire, the larger it becomes. In 1518, medicine wasn't modern neurology. Physicians interpreted strange behavior through ideas like bodily imbalance, heat, and humors. A prolonged, unstoppable dance could be viewed as a physical disturbance rather than a psychological one. That matters because it shaped policy. The city's treatment strategy reflected the science of its time. Many historians argue the wider environment matters. Chronic stress from food shortages, disease waves, economic hardship, and intense religious fear. When people live at the edge of survival, the nervous system becomes a loaded weapon. In that context, a bizarre public behavior can become a release valve, except it releases pain as chaos. In that era, unexplained illness often mixed with moral meaning. Some believed strange afflictions could be curses, divine punishment, or spiritual trials. That doesn't mean magic caused it, but belief can shape symptoms, especially in crowds. When a community expects a certain kind of suffering, the body sometimes follows the script. A popular theory claims a toxic fungus on rye, ergot, could have poisoned people, causing hallucinations and spasms. It sounds plausible on paper because ergot can affect the nervous system. But critics point out problems. Ergot poisoning often produces symptoms that don't match days of coordinated dancing, and it would likely hit broader populations with additional severe effects. The debate itself reveals how hard it is to fit biology to the historical description. A widely discussed modern interpretation is mass psychogenic illness, collective symptoms triggered by stress, fear, and social transmission rather than a pathogen. It doesn't mean people were faking. It means the brain can produce real physical behavior under extreme psychological pressure. In a tight community watching bodies collapse in public, fear becomes fuel, and the behavior spreads through attention and expectation. Mass psychogenic events feel supernatural because they break our intuition. How can people copy something harmful? But humans mirror behavior constantly: yawning, panic, crowd movement. Under stress, imitation can become compulsion. If the city already carried beliefs about affliction and punishment, those beliefs could provide the pattern the body follows. The Dance Plague of 1518 wasn't the only report of strange dancing outbreaks in Europe. Earlier centuries mention waves of uncontrolled dancing tied to fear, ritual, or social crisis. Whether each case was identical is debated, but the pattern is important. Strasbourg may have been the most famous, not the only example of the phenomenon. Some accounts claim people died from exhaustion, stroke, or heart failure. Other scholars caution that exact death counts are uncertain or exaggerated in later storytelling. What we can say confidently is that the situation was serious enough to alarm authorities, disrupt public life, and demand a response. Even without a precise body count, the event was a public health emergency by 1518 standards. We do not have modern medical records, lab tests, or video evidence. We have descriptions, administrative notes, and later interpretations. That means any explanation is a model, not a verdict. The most responsible approach is to weigh consistency. Which theory best matches the social context, the spread pattern, and the reported behavior? The most plausible picture is a perfect storm: a stressed population, a powerful belief system, and a visible, contagious public behavior that offered no easy exit. Add summer heat, crowd attention, and fear, and the brain can push bodies into patterns that look irrational, but are real. Strasbourg 1518 may have been less a mystery disease, and more a human system collapsing under pressure. People like to believe they're immune to collective behavior, but Strasbourg shows how quickly fear can spread when everyone watches the same crisis unfold in public. In 1518, rumors, religion, and desperation moved faster than medicine. The lesson isn't medieval, it's human. Under pressure, crowds can become a force that rewrites what normal looks like. The dance plague of 1518 is terrifying because it sits between worlds: body and mind, belief and biology, individual and crowd. Whether it was stress-induced contagion, toxic exposure, or multiple forces at once, it shows how fragile normal can be. Comment your best explanation, and subscribe to World of Mysteries for the next investigation.